Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Colleen. I'm from the Downtown Aquarium, and I am so excited to bring you information about one of my most favorite animals of all time, and that would be, of course, sharks. In front of me here, I have a few things about sharks that we're going to learn about, including, of course, their teeth, which is what most people are most interested in, as well as the skeleton of a shark, which is really an awesome thing to learn about. So we are going to do a little short PowerPoint, and then we're going to wrap up with meeting a real live shark. If you have questions, I should have a chance to take a few questions at the end, but please hold any questions until then, and then we're going to see if we can learn a little bit more about what makes sharks so special. They, like I said, they're one of my most favorite animals of all time. So we're going to start out here. We're going to do a little bit of a screen share. Make sure I am able to do this. All right. I'm hoping this is coming across. The title of the presentation is Sensational Sharks. Sharks are absolutely sensational animals. There are over 400 different types of sharks that we know of today, and most of them are actually quite fascinating. So first of all, are they fish? They are most definitely a very special type of fish. What makes a fish? Well, first of all, they are vertebrates. They have skeletons, just like you and me, but there is something special about those skeletons. We're going to talk about that. They do have fins, so yes, they are a fish. Fins are important to move through their watery habitat. They have gills, super important to be able to breathe in their watery habitat. Scales help them move faster through the water as well as protecting their skin. And then there's a big word here, ectotherms. Ectotherms, some of you may have heard of it called cold-blooded before. Basically, an ectotherm is an animal that has the body temperature of their surroundings. So if the water is 70 degrees, their body temperature will be 70 degrees. And that is something that makes fish fish. But are sharks always fish? There's something special about them, and that's their skeleton. They are vertebrates, but instead of a hard bone skeleton like ours, they have cartilage. If you wiggle your ears or the tip of your nose, you're going to notice that they're soft and squishy instead of the big hard bone that we have in our arms. Sharks and their close cousins rays have a skeleton made up completely of the soft, lightweight cartilage. They have amazing fins. The fins are super important. They have functions. They're there to help that shark be a good swimmer. The dorsal fin, that's the one everyone thinks of. That's the one that sticks out of the water as they're coming towards you. The dorsal fin helps the shark stay upright in the water. If you've ever played football, look at the shape of a shark. Kind of looks a little bit like a football if you didn't have the fins on it. And so the fins are there to keep that shark from spinning in a spiral like a football would on a perfect touchdown pass. They also have a secondary dorsal fin. This tells me that this shark is a fast shark because the dorsal fin on the top is bigger than the dorsal fin at the back. And so that is a fast-moving shark. The pectoral fins are there for being able to steer. They kind of lean to one side or the other in order to steer. Sharks cannot swim backwards. Pelvic fins are kind of like legs, actually. They help the shark, again, move and steer in directions. And some sharks will actually sit on their pelvic fins and scoot forward. The anal fin is additional balance, and then the most important fin is the caudal fin, also known as the tail, giving that shark a good power burst so that they can move forward. Sharks also have incredible skin. They have a very special kind of scale called a dermal denticle. Dermal means means skin, and denticle means teeth. They're actually very similar, and if you look at a shark scale under the microscope, as you can see in the picture up there, that is what they look like. They look like tiny little teeth. They're very bumpy and very rough, and that is very important to help them reduce the drag in the water so that they can move faster, because water is a very sticky substance and they need to move fast. Sharks also have incredible senses. Their senses are very similar to ours in many ways. Their hearing works the same as ours. Their smelling works the same as ours, but they use the water to make it work better. When you hear something through the air, it doesn't travel nearly as fast as if you were to hear it underwater. So a shark can hear sounds from over a mile away. And sharks do have an incredible sense of smell. They can smell up to several hundred yards away. Now they are smelling for lots of different things, not just blood, but that is one thing that does catch their nose when it's in the water. They can see. Long time ago, it was thought that sharks had bad eyesight, but it turns out that sharks actually have pretty good eyesight. They can see the difference between light and dark. They can see shapes, and some can even see colors. They do have a sense of feel on their skin. They do know when they're being touched, and they do have a sense of taste, along with a way of sensing the different feels of the food they're eating, much like you and me. But they do have two senses that are pretty unique for them. They have something called a lateral line. That is a line down the middle of their body, and that helps them feel vibrations. So they can feel a vibration of a fish versus the vibration of a boat, and they can sense which way they want to turn. And probably one of the most exciting types of senses they have is something called electromagnetism. They have these special dots on their face. They're called ampullae of Lorenzini, and those help them sense little heartbeats, little bits of electricity in their prey from underneath the sand or from behind a little bit of coral. So they're able to zero in on their prey that could be hiding. Now, everyone's excited about shark teeth. That's one of my favorite things. Most people think that sharks always have sharp teeth, but I'm here to tell you that is not true. There are different types of teeth for different types of food. Sharks do have many rows of teeth, and they do lose their teeth. Just kind of like we do when our adult teeth are coming in and pushing our baby teeth out, but we only get those 2 sets of teeth. Sharks always are getting new sets of teeth. So the one in the front falls out, they get one right behind it to take its place, and they can lose up to 30,000 teeth over the course of their lifetime. I mentioned that there's different types of teeth for different food that they eat. The great white shark, that's a big predator. When they're an adult, they like to eat seals, sea lions, dolphins, and big fish. So they have a fairly big tooth that is pointy and serrated along the edge to be able to get through really tough skin. The next few on here, the short-fin mako, the poor beagle, the sand tiger, and you can see at the very end, the lemon shark, those are sharp teeth that are like harpoons. That helps them hold on to slippery fish. But there are actually a lot of different sharks that have teeth that are flat and slightly pokey, like the one off here that's called a Port Jackson shark. The Port Jackson shark lives on the bottom of a coral reef and eats crustaceans, mollusks, so clams, crabs, shrimp, and some small fish. And so those teeth are made for crushing shells. Now, sharks are super important to the ocean ecosystem. They are necessary to be in the ocean because they keep the balance of the ocean alive. I have a picture here of a hammerhead shark, and it is connected because hammerhead sharks will eat rays. This is a cab-nosed ray. Rays will eat shellfish. We got clams, shrimp, lobster, and we also like clams, shrimp, and lobster. What happens, though, if I took that hammerhead out of the equation? We fished them all out of the ocean and they didn't survive. what's going to happen to all those stingrays? The stingray population will go up because nobody's eating them. But there's going to be so many stingrays that there's going to be a lot of that shellfish getting eaten up. In fact, those stingrays will overeat the shellfish, leaving absolutely nothing for us. So you can see that is a problem with the balance of the ocean. Same kind of thing happens with this shark. This is a black-tip reef shark. The black-tip reef shark eats large fish like groupers, which eat smaller fish like tangs and parrotfish, which eat algae, and that algae helps the coral grow. Without that black-tip reef shark, those groupers are going to increase. They're going to eat all of the little fish. All of those little fish will be gone. There'll be too much algae, and with too much algae covering the corals won't be able to grow. And then it affects the balance of the ocean. So sharks are super important for the balance of the ocean, but a lot of people are actually scared of sharks because you hear of the big ones, the great white sharks, the tiger sharks. Yeah, they're big, but there are a lot of different shark species. As I said, over about 400 different shark species. And most shark species are less than 5 feet in length, fully grown. The smallest one is only about 7 inches big. That's called a dwarf lantern shark. And that one is the one that lives in the very dark waters of the bottom of the ocean. Of course, everyone is mostly concerned about great whites. Great whites, the males are smaller, the females are bigger. The great whites will be about 11 to 16 feet, though there have been reports of ones up to 20 feet long. If you've ever watched the movie Jaws, that movie is all about a great white shark, but it is just Hollywood. It is a movie that they say in that movie that shark is 24 feet. Yeah, a little too big to be real. But as far as the biggest shark in the world, currently alive, is the whale shark, about 45 feet. So the whale shark eats the smallest fish, or the smallest food in the ocean, called plankton. So sharks are sensational creatures. They are awesome, and I do have a short video to show you of some of our sharks here at the aquarium eating. When we feed our animals here at the aquarium, our large sharks get fed by a pole. That way we can aim the fish directly to them and make sure that they get the food and the vitamins that are inside the fish for them. So we're going to watch this video for a brief moment, and then we'll get a chance to meet a real live shark. There's that fish on the pool. The black-tip shark just went by. Huh, you might have noticed you missed it. That does happen in the wild too. Sharks don't always catch everything they try to eat. That shark was a white-tip shark. is pretty awesome, huh? So I have stopped sharing, and I'm going to head back to my screen here. Okay, hopefully everyone can see me again. So that is amazing. I adore sharks quite a bit. Now, let's see if we can meet a real live shark. Remember, I told you that there are over 400 different species of sharks. They come in all different shapes and sizes. The smallest is about 7 inches. We actually have a small one here today, and this one's still kind of young, so it's still pretty small. But I'm going to zoom the camera over and see, and I may actually pick up the camera a little bit to get a good view. So it might get a little bumpy for a second. But you may be able to see, sitting here on the bottom, an animal that has some blackish gray stripes. This is called a white spotted bamboo shark. Now, again, not all sharks have to swim to breathe. That's an old wives' tale, and that's only true for some sharks. Many sharks that live on the very bottom of the coral reef will sit on the bottom of the coral reef and scoot along looking for their food. And I'm going to bring the camera a little closer, see if you can see how this shark is able to breathe using its gills. So I'm going to bear with me as I move the camera and get a little bumpy here. All right, I think the top view will be better. There we go. Now, my friends, if you can see on the side of the shark, the gills pulsing back and forth. Sharks have 5 to 7 gill slits, and those gill slits, they pump water in through their mouth and then across those gill slits. That's what most of these smaller sharks that live in coral reefs or on the bottom do. That's something called buccal pumping. Buccal is a muscle, and they're pumping water across their gills. Larger sharks, like tiger sharks and great white sharks, breathe differently. They are a type of shark that does need to move forward to breathe, and that's called ram ventilation. They're ramming water in through their mouth and then across their gills. Again, this is a white-spotted bamboo shark, not very large, again, young, but fully grown. A white-spotted bamboo shark would only be about 2 feet long. This one's just about a foot long. And they are found in tropical waters in Indonesia and sometimes even into mangrove swamps. Now, let's see here. I'm going to point out. You can see the eyes here. There's the gills. Pectoral fins. Dorsal fin is way back here. There's another dorsal fin way back here. And if I was to lightly touch him, he feels slightly bumpy, a little bit like fine-grained sandpaper. Do any of my friends out there have any questions? I'd be glad to take a few. I'm not sure if I'm getting any questions. I do love this bamboo shark. Here at the downtown aquarium, we have about 20 species of sharks. Our biggest shark is called a sand tiger shark. The sand tiger is not to be confused with the tiger shark, which is way too big to put in an aquarium. But our sand tiger shark is 10.5 feet long. We also have brown sharks, also called sandbar sharks, that are 8 feet long. You'll see some of these bamboo sharks on exhibit as well. And then we also have some of their close cousins, rays. We have a ray called a shovel-nosed guitarfish and a giant shovel-nosed guitarfish. We also have one that is a green sawfish. It is a critically endangered species, and they can get up to 12 feet long. All right. Well, my friends, I'm not seeing any questions. That must mean I've answered every single question that you might have about sharks out there. Oh, hey, there's a question. Why do they have stripes? What a great question. Those stripes help them to camouflage, to hide. They live in a coral reef, and so they want to blend in with the rocks and the bits of coral. They want to blend in for two reasons. One, this is a shark, but this shark is small. Do you think larger fish or larger sharks could eat them? Yeah, they sure could. So that is a way to protect themselves, but also they don't want to be seen by their prey as they're trying to get close to their prey to eat them. So camouflage works both ways. Very important. Great question. Thank you so much, Greta. So here at the Downtown Aquarium, if you've not visited us here, you are more than welcome to join us. We are now open. You do need to make reservations on our website. But like I said, you could actually see about 20 different species of sharks. You get a chance to even check out some rays, even touch some stingrays. We have about 700 different species of animals, but as I told you, sharks are by far one of my most favorite ever. My favorite shark ever, and if you come visit us, you'll want to check it out, it's called a swell shark. It looks a little bit like this bamboo shark. It has stripes, but it's bigger, and it lives in cold waters in Northern California and Washington and Oregon waters. And it's called a swell shark, not just because it's swell, but because it will find a rock and blow its stomach up and puff up so that it can't get pulled out of rocks. So it's almost like a puffer fish, and it helps protect it. And swell sharks are also now known, scientists recently found out that swell sharks can glow in the dark. They phosphoresce. Pretty amazing. Well, friends, thank you very much for joining me and learning about sharks. And again, if you do have any thoughts or questions, I am glad to take one last one. We have maybe a minute left. So again, thank you so much. All right. Again, thank you again, everybody. I think there was one last question that popped in about the resident animals being born either in an aquarium or if they were wild caught. For the most part, most all of our animals here at the aquarium are from other zoos and aquariums. We belong to the AZA. The AZA is the Association of Zoos and Aquariums, and that allows us to trade animals with each other to make sure their genetics are well represented, and that allows us to not have to take anything out of the wild. In fact, any of our animals that are critically endangered are part of what's called the SSP, the Species Survival Program, and that is a breeding program for those endangered animals. So we are very proud to be part of the solution and conservation of animals. Thank you so much for that question. Again, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us here. And I hope you have a wonderful afternoon, getting a chance to learn more science. And I hope to see you here at the aquarium sometime soon.